I'm going to bring you in. Okay, then I'll go ahead and do my little intro part real quick. All right, so StayLIT. I decided that I wanted to do this because all growing up, I love reading. I was always the kid with the flashlight under the blankets and all that kind of cool stuff. Super big into reading. And then when I went away to school, then you're stuck with textbooks and all of this assigned reading, and I was like, no, so I'm not about this anymore. And I fell off of reading. And then over the past couple of years, I realized that I watched a lot of television. I was like, I used to read, though. And I wanted to get back into it. So I always wanted to be in a book club, but my schedule is crazy, and I couldn't do it. I could never find something that worked for me. And I said, well, there's got to be other people out here that want to read and that can't get to a book club. So we've got the internet. Hello. So let's do something online. And then I said, well, I need accountability. I need a real reason to read the book. And so I said, well, maybe the best person to talk to about the book is the one who wrote it. And so I've been reaching out to different authors to see if they'll come on and chit chat with me about their books, and I'm super excited about this one. Each month the books have been getting better and better and better and better. I'm gonna have to have some people back twice, but this one, so timely. It's called Dear Martin, and I'm gonna go ahead and bring on our author. Let's see if we can get her on now. Maybe. Let's see.
Yo, I have on no makeup. I'm like chilling in my den. So
I'm so excited.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm tired, bro, but it's all good. I was in
honestly, me too.
I was in New York for Book Expo and BookCon pretty much all of last week, and
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah.
So tell me about it. I was like, whoa.
We're basically twins, by the way.
Just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Just a little bit. I'm so excited. Okay, so tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Nic. What you want to know, girl?
Is that your on your birth certificate?
It's partially, yeah. It's Nicole, but
that's
yeah.
super cool. I love it.
My little sister, I have a sister. My sister's 26 now, so she's 6.5 years younger than me. You guys can do the math. But when she was little, she couldn't say Nicole.
Aww.
So I've been Nic for a long time.
Cool. Super cool. It works out well. Okay, I feel like this keeps ending. So it's been falling the whole time. I've been on here. I was like, oh, hopefully it doesn't fall anymore, but I'm gonna keep watching it. I think it's my stand that's slowly going like this. So anyway,
That's interesting.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes. So
yeah, that's it.
So is this your first book?
It's the first book that's published. I did I had a couple others that were just really bad. So what's wild is so the first book I ever wrote, I wrote in 2000. I didn't start writing until I was 28. So it was 5 years ago. And the first book I wrote was 125,000 words. That's 500 pages. I don't even know what it was about. It was so bad. But what's crazy is it landed me an agent. It just landed me an agent who had never done YA. No. And so she had no idea how terrible the book was until she put it out on submission. And people just kept shooting it down. So she fired me. I got fired as the client. She was like, I think you might need to find a new agent because this ain't my bag. And so I actually wrote a second book that landed me and I went through the whole query process to land with my current agent, and we sent that book out on submission, and the first editor to respond really she loved my writing, but she wasn't totally sold on the story. So she asked me if I was working on anything else, and they gave me 12 hours. Well, my agent gave me 12 hours to come up with a proposal for what is now the book in your hand. So like it sold on this like 12-hour thing that I pulled together. I like pulled it out of my ass basically.
That's
And I was dead when she called and she was like, I love this, I want to buy it. I was like, you want to buy what? Because I didn't really send anything. Like okay, we can, okay.
That's super cool. I love it. Okay, so I'm gonna get into my questions. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so you kind of told me just a little bit how quickly you had to come up with the concept to present. But when did the idea first start running through your head?
2012 November. I had just become a new mom, so I had a 5-month-old kid when I heard about this boy named Jordan Davis, who had been killed in Jacksonville, Florida, basically because he and his friends had their music turned up loud, and this white dude pulled up and didn't like it. And like, as the mom of this new little black boy that I'd like grew in my body and was bringing into the earth, it was like, wait a minute, this is a thing that people do? Like people out here killing folks over music? So that's when the initial idea to explore kind of the background of that thinking came from. And then in 2014, when Mike Brown was killed and the Black Lives Matter movement really kicked off, like, the hashtag kicked off in response to George Zimmerman's acquittal. But like when the movement kicked off, I kept seeing people quote Dr. King in opposition to the movement. And I was like, what? Who are you people? Right. And how is this something you think is like valid?
Okay, right.
So I really started, that's when the real, like, the Dr. King piece came in. I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna actually try and do this.
Together. Oh my goodness. So I understand that you were thinking about the process, but did you go into it thinking I'm gonna write a book? Or was it just I'm doing research so that I can have something to talk about? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely knew I wanted to write a book. I just didn't know, like, so when I first started kicking the idea around in my head, after those two pieces had come together, because that was in 2014, those two pieces kind of clicked together. And when I first started thinking about it, I was thinking about this kid writing letters to Dr. King to process the shooting death of his friend, right? So I'm like, okay, this kid is in a situation where he is with his friend and his friend gets killed. And so he starts writing letters to Dr. King to process that whole thing. And of course it didn't actually wind up going like that. Like it started, like the letter started in response to this kid being profiled. But I knew there were going to be letters to Dr. King, and I knew I wanted it to be a book that explored contemporary race relations through the eyes of like a kid that the kid that my son would eventually be.
Yes.
And now I have two sons, because at that point I only had one son, and now I have two sons. So like between when we sold the book and when the book came out, I like got pregnant and had another kid.
Oh, wow.
So it's like even more, by the time the book came out, it had become like even more important to me.
It was super, super, super
necessary.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So when I'm reading the book, I followed a little bit in the beginning, and then we got into the interracial element, and so of course I was dying because I'm in an interracial relationship. I'm all about power, and so what made you decide to kind of add that into the book?
I mean, I feel like it's just a part of everything, right? Like if you're talking about race relations in America, and I'm writing a YA novel, I don't think I can not include some kind of romantic element. And if it's about race, it just made sense for it to be, to just kind of roll it in. And I mean, also like I have a Jewish husband. He's biracial. So like my parents, my in-laws, my mother-in-law is Russian, and my father-in-law is Nigerian. And so,
that is cool.
Yeah, right. And so I really wanted to tap into kind of the Jewish contingent of the civil rights movement, because Jewish people, the white people involved in the civil rights movement, like most of them were Jewish, and I have obviously very deep connections to Jewish people and Jewish culture. Like I lived in Israel for a few years. Like I went to Israel like looking for God, and I like found this gorgeous man instead. And so then I moved there.
God works in different ways.
Right, absolutely, right. Like who's to say I didn't find God, you know? But then I moved there. So then I have all of these connections to both kind of Jewish as an ethnic group and Jewish as a religion. And and I know that there are a lot of, it's really wild though. And I'm about to get in some stuff that's going to get me in trouble. But because I moved to Israel, thinking about the connection between like the similarities between like the Jewish experience and the Black experience, right? But what's interesting is in Israel, the experience I was more able to connect to is actually the Arab experience, like the Palestinian experience. So like it's I'm not even going into words right now, but that's where the interracial part kind of came in, was like me kind of wanting to, you know, Sarah Jane is a tribute to my husband. She's a tribute to my mentor, who is Jewish. She's just a tribute to like all of these amazing Jewish people in my life. And also like it's a book about race. So
you needed
interracial relationships just make sense.
It needed to be in there. I love it. Yeah. I love it. Who did you relate to most in the book?
You know, what's interesting is all of them just at different points, except for like the bro squad. Like they're all trash and I don't relate to any of them. I had fun writing them because I was like, this is me sticking it to all of you.
You know who you are.
That I have dealt with over the course of my life. But like Justice was me in high school. Like even that test score scene, that happened to me when I was a senior. Like I had this girl look me dead in my face and be like, there's no way you got a higher score than me.
Okay.
You good?
So here it is.
Yeah, and she's following me on Instagram now and can see what I'm doing. Thank you. I did. All right. And then SJ is me now. So like there's little pieces of me in each of the characters. There's even a little bit of Manny. I initially went to Georgia Tech because I was scared to go to Spelman. Wow. And then I got to Georgia Tech and I was like, where's Spelman? I'm going to Spelman. I need to so I transferred to Spelman. And it was the best decision I ever made.
Man.
But, you know, when you grow up as like the Black kid who is acceptable to white people, it's like, it's a thing. Like, it's like a real thing. And I had a lot to unpack, like in therapy. Like,
it's a real thing. You know, the funny thing about that, because when I was reading the book, I wrote down in my notes, Manny was my character.
Yeah.
Manny was my character 100% because I was a synchronized swimmer. So that tells you what my circle was.
And now I get to tell people I know a Black synchronized swimmer. So thank you for that, JoJo.
Right? And so that was my whole growing up. When he got into talking about how he would feel about going to an HBCU and being able to relate to the other people there, I said, oh my goodness, because that was so me. That was so me. And even just in the past few years, you know, I've started paying attention to the jokes a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I look at my pictures, and I took some pictures not too long ago, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is like, I am the acceptable face on the brochure for the school. Like I'm the face that you still need to send your money here. But we include everybody. That,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I've had people that said, well, you're not one of those kind of Black people.
Girl.
You know, understanding that reality. And then I loved how in the book it addressed the Black community looking at you saying, you don't really fit in here. And then the white community looking at you saying, well, you don't really fit in here either. You know what I'm saying? And as a young person, I think there was a meme going around basically saying, stop telling our kids that they speak white.
Yeah.
Or that they're white because they dress a certain way. Don't do that. Don't do that. Because that's not right. But then, like I say, learning to Um, except that I still am very, very Black. Do you know what I mean? And not to devalue my Blackness because I'm doing all these other different kind of things, you know?
Right.
Um,
Right.
so that's why I really connected with Manny because I saw his struggle and I felt, you know, how torn he really was. And in that moment of realization, he was like, no, y'all are way off. That was a real moment. I was like, good for you. You got it.
It's a hard moment though, because like when you are, and this was me too, like I spent, so like what's crazy, right? My high school is one of the most diverse high schools in the state of Georgia, right? And it has been since I was there 15 years ago. And that's both racially, it's culturally, it's religiously, and with regard to socioeconomics. Like across the board, it is crazy diverse, but it has stratified class systems, which I think I'm pretty sure a lot of high schools still do. So like I was in like the gifted honors class, right? So you had college prep, you had honors, and then you had gifted honors and AP. So I was in like gifted honors and AP. So I was always the only Black kid in those classes, which says a lot about classism, but you know, we're not gonna go there right now. But because of this, so you have this like dual consciousness, right? The Black kids tended not to trust me because I spent so much time around white people. And of course, the white off. Am I back?
Yeah, you're here.
Sorry, it like paused on me. The white kids were all very nice, but like implicit bias is a thing, right? But like, so no, I have like very excellent white people that I grew up with, that I'm still in contact with, that I love to the moon and back, and who are really, they are legitimately excellent people. But everybody got implicit bias. And like, I definitely have some experiences in my repertoire that I'm like,
that one wasn't a good one.
Right.
And it's subtle. It's subtle. And
it'd be real subtle. You'd be like, you just slipped that one in.
You know, and like I say, as a child, you don't really pick up on those things. Parents may sometimes, you know, be aware, but learning the balance and still being able to push through that, even though you know people are looking at you sideways, you still got to get through it. Okay, you kind of talked a little bit. I think I'm gonna go. What was your favorite chapter?
I'm looking for my charger now.
Oh no.
My favorite. So, okay. My favorite thing to write isn't exactly a chapter. It's the letter after the party where Justice like whoops everybody's ass.
Yes.
I loved getting to write that letter because it was like my own anger on the page. It's about to get dark. Still hear me though.
Yeah, I can see you.
My phone died while we on this call. But no, I loved writing that chapter because it gave me a chance to really express some things. And I think I knew in my writer's heart that by that point, people had connected with Justice enough that their anger made sense to him, you know? And which is an important thing.
I didn't feel any type of way about that whole situation. I was like, well, you know, they just pushed too far that time. They went
I'm
too
still
far.
here, I promise.
Okay. You fizzled away.
I'm here in the dark.
No, but I appreciate the fact that that you addressed the frustration and the anger, because it gives everybody an insight. It gives everybody a glimpse into why the feelings might be there. And I think that's necessary, because if you don't understand what people are dealing with, then you can't sympathize with whatever their emotions are in regard to their situation.
Right.
Once we had developed that understanding of what he had already seen and what he had already dealt with, what he was currently going through, and this kind of nonchalant behavior from the other folks, it's like, no, you don't understand. This is a daily situation. This is a daily struggle for me. And I feel like we needed that. I feel like we needed that at that point.
Right. And I hope, it's my hope that people understood why he was pissed off. You know what I mean? Like, and understood it in the sense that, like, they realize it, like, oh, I might have been kind of pissed off too. And I think that, like, books are supposed to be tools for empathy, right? Like, that's the whole point. The whole point in me writing stories is for me to put myself in the character's shoes so that a reader can then do it. And my hope is that when people read that chapter, though it is the angriest chapter in the entire book, that they understand and they get why we be so mad, like it. Because look, you know what, what's that James Baldwin quote? To be a Negro in this country and relatively conscious is to be in a rage almost all the time. It's something like, I think I probably
I know what you mean.
it, but yeah.
But that's it's definitely a thing, and that insight is priceless. Honestly, it is.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. There's so many questions that I have, and I'm trying to pick one. Okay, let's do.
Oh, ooh.
So, I've been telling people across the board. Also, and I'm going to let people know it for everybody that watches this. DM me your IG handle, and then I'm going to do a drawing, and I'm going to give somebody a copy of the book. Yeah. Because it's super, super. Oh, I don't cry when I read. And chapter 13, that was it. And just because I had read the back of the book, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I knew something was gonna happen.
Yeah.
But I had no idea. I was not prepared. And it broke my heart. I mean, when I say I cried the entire rest of the book. Yes, grab those books. So 2 things. If you send me your IG handle, I will, I'm going to do a drawing and gift someone a copy of the book. And also I said, that after, chapter 13, I don't normally cry. But after chapter 13, I was just the whole rest of the book, my heart, even now, my heart is heavy. Just thinking about the book, because thinking as a parent, how do you relate to your child dealing with that? You didn't experience that, so how in the world do you help them get through that? And so there is a section in the book where Manny's father talks about how he didn't feel like he had prepared him for what he was going to experience. So what are some of the things that you're a mom, right?
Yeah.
So what are some of the things that you've learned that we can do to kind of help the younger ones understand? What are some of the things that we as people without children, we all know a black boy. You know what I'm saying? We all know that's growing up right now. We all know black girls. Because, see, that's another thing. It's not just the black boys. It's, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot going on.
Yeah. And I mean, as I feel like, as a black girl, what I dealt with was being like sexualized way too soon, right? And so you have black boys being criminalized, you have black girls being sexualized, and of course that crosses over. Like there's definitely black girls being criminalized too. But I think honestly where we go wrong as adults is, first of all, in forgetting what it was like to be young and forgetting the things that we were legitimately able to handle. Right. And then we take that and we turn it around and we treat our kids like these fragile little creatures who can't handle anything. And I think that is a huge problem. So like my 5-year-old has heard the Dear Martin audiobook. He can listen to it. It's fine. I mean, I wrote it, like I'm not gonna shield him from something that I created for him, even though he's only 5. And when he has questions, I answer them. So the idea of a child not being, and I will speak solely for myself and for my own children. I'm not trying to tell nobody how to parent their kids, but like, I do think that it's important for me to let my kids see the world as it is. And just and make sure that they are built up to the point where they know that they can overcome it. It's like, yeah, you are gonna face some really ugly stuff. I remember I took my sons. The little one was like was he even, I think he was like barely one. So this was
Okay.
last year. So he was 7 months old. My little one was 7 months old. And my older son was 4. And I took them to the King Center on MLK Day. And they always have a bus, like an old bus that sits outside of the King house, right? So you can go in and you can tour Dr. King's birth home. And they have this bus that sits outside of it. And when you get on the bus, you can see where the line was for where colored people had to sit. That was the best time for that to happen. So you see the line.
Really paying attention, and then
look, it's all good. So you see the line, and my kid gets on the bus, and I made him go to the back of the bus. And I could see it click for him that like, oh. And what's fun is I got to write about this whole thing. If you can find the February issue of Parents Magazine, there's an article in there that I wrote about the experience and about like me trying to navigate what to share with my son at what age and what not to. But the point is he got it, right? And he understood that things were not great for people who looked like him at one point. And I am explaining to him all the time, things ain't great for people who look like you now, babe. Like this place is not always kind. It's rarely kind, actually, to people who look like you. But so what?
Exactly.
Like you are amazing. Just because they say or they think a certain way about you doesn't make it true. Just because somebody decides that, oh, your skin is brown, so you're up to no good. If you're not up to no good, you're not up to
good to go.
You know, it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And I think that what's most important is that we show our kids how the world is, but also how they can overcome that and how they don't have to let it stay that way. Yeah. So yeah, just making sure, for me, it's all about making sure that my kids see things as they are. Like right now, my 2-year-old's favorite word is penis.
Oh no!
It's totally fine. Like, yes. Anytime I change his diaper, mommy, that's my penis. Yes, son, that is your penis. Look, and why shouldn't he? You know, like the fact that we're weird about teaching kids the names for their own body parts. I'm like, yo, we got a problem. We need to fix this. This is a lot.
True. Because I know when I was little, changing a cousin's diaper, I was like, why does my cousin have a tail? I don't understand.
A tail. See?
And so it's totally a thing. I am, I'm getting older. And so,
girl, you like 19. Get out of here.
I will be the big 3-0 next year.
I'm like older than you. Have a seat.
No, but that is a discussion that me and the panda have had, because he is a white male in America. If we have children, if we have little boys, they're gonna be black boys in America.
They are.
And the discussion on how do you prepare your son? You see what I'm saying? Like, how do you, as a white male, prepare your black boy for what's really out there?
Yeah.
And I can't imagine, like I said, as much as I can gain, as much as I can learn, it's a big thing for me, because I'm realizing the seriousness of the situation. These parents are burying their babies,
Yeah.
They're burying babies out here. Oh, it's too much. It's too much.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
And it's a constant thing. It's a constant thing. Okay, I'm looking at my questions. So how many I wrote on here, everything was so spot on. When you were piecing everything together, how did you get from point A to the end? You see what I'm saying? From where justice started in the beginning, how did you get all the way through? I don't understand. I'm not going to use this stand anymore, because that is so aggravating. It shouldn't do that.
I'm sorry. That's hilarious.
I don't like that, and I'm gonna have to rewatch this, and every single time it falls, I'm gonna be like, ah. So how did you get from Justice when we first met him to after everything?
I mean, like the technical answer is I'm an outliner. I mean, like I'm pretty hardcore about it too. Like I write very intense book outlines.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't even know if I can answer this.
Were a lot of your the situations that you were dealing, were those things that you had personally encountered, or were those stories that people, you know what I'm saying, were you reflecting on things that you had heard from other people, or was this stuff that you firsthand had experienced and seen?
A lot, like all of that, like all of the above. So some of it was stuff that I've experienced, some of it was stuff that I've had people close to me experience, and some of it is stuff I just pulled off the news, you know. And I like, so my favorite thing about being a professional storyteller, besides the fact that I get paid to tell lies, is the fact that I get to utilize my tendency to try and connect dots, right? So like all day I'm walking around in the world trying to piece together why is this like that, and how did A get to C, and like what, you know, like there are all of these little pieces of information just kind of floating around in the world, and I like to try to synthesize them and figure out how they're connected. And I think I've always been like this since I was a very, very little kid. My aunt tells me that when I was 3, she asked me what I wanted Santa to bring me for Christmas, and I told her a dictionary. Oh, if that gives you any idea of the kind of child that I was. But I remember reading that dictionary. The first word in that dictionary was aardvark. I will never ever forget that. Oh, that's but things like that, like having information. I just love information, and I love taking pieces of information and putting them together and seeing what comes out, right? Seeing what connections can be made between things that are seemingly unconnected. How do we function in the world as human beings? What is our role in the world as human beings? There are all of these questions that I'm constantly grappling with. And so I use story to explore the questions. And for this book, my main question was like, where they do that at and why? Like with the whole Jordan Davis thing, it was just like, why is everybody so scared of Black boys? Like, why is everybody so scared of these kids that my kids are eventually going to be? Like, knowing that my kid is going to be Tamir Rice's age in 6 years. You know, it's been 50 years since Dr. King was assassinated, and like, look where we are. So 6 years from now, we still gonna be having problems. Like, I'm not under any false impressions about that. And so knowing that at some point my child will be the age of Tamir Rice, who was in a park playing with a toy and lost his life over it, you know, why was the question. So like, that's really what drove me wanting to write the story, and then noticing things around me and plucking them out and seeing how they could be connected to this question of why, is kind of how I built the different pieces. What's interesting is that there was a lot more in there. The first draft of this book, sorry, I'm so not steady with this thing. It's okay. The first draft of this book was double the length. It had 8 points of view, and Justice died on page 3. What? Right. We see how my editor felt about that one. But yeah, like it was a different book. It was the same book. It was the same story, but it was a very different book. It was a different way of telling it. And we decided to simplify significantly and really zoom in on Justice himself and Justice's story. So I will say that a lot of what I cut out, there are pieces I wish I could put back. But it was important to streamline it down. But you know, like, there was a whole lot more. There was like more pieces that were in there, and more things that kind of added to making things gray, making like these moral gray areas and these unanswerable questions. Like, there was even more in there.
Yep. And the funny thing is, when you say that moral gray area, I
I cannot remember the I can't remember the chapter, but there was a section in the book where you had a bad thing happen. It didn't seem like things were going to go the way that they should go.
Mm-hmm.
And then justice was served. But I was kind of like, oh, but was that, should I be happy about this right now? I don't know. So it was.
I know what you're talking about, girl.
That was a hard moment for me.
So it was not a hard moment for me because I needed that. Like, I was like, nah, bruh, we're not going to have this go like it goes in real. This is one of those areas where I was like, I cannot let this go the way it typically goes in real life because I will not be able to live with myself. So.
Oh, that was a moment for me. I recently watched. Is it 7 seconds? 12 seconds?
That's the George Davis story.
I just
Oh, no. You're talking about the kid who gets hit by the car?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. The one on Netflix.
Yes. So
okay.
I just watched that. And, you know, I've heard your book, the timing of your book was great because here recently they've been headlines. They've been news stories. You know, it's like, oh, again, that really sucks. But it never really pierced my heart until, like I said, I watched that show.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to the end and we get to that final verdict. And every single situation that I had heard about, everything that I had read about, everything that I had seen, everything was there. And I was like, you have got to be kidding me. You have got that. There's no way that this turns out this way. And so like I said, when it hit in your book, I was like, ah. And then, you know, ta-da!
Next chapter. I was like, no, I'm not about to make y'all wait it out either. Look.
And it was real quick. It was real quick. And like I said, it was that gray area of, you know, am I going to be happy that this happened? And happy is not the word that I want to use because it wasn't so much that I was happy about what happened. It was like reality check. Y'all were wrong.
Yeah.
And at some point you're going to cross somebody that's going to be like, no, you was wrong. And okay, y'all aren't taking care of this. We tried it. We tried it your way. And that's what's happening so many times. And I think that was justice, part of Justice's issue. And I think he even said that at some point. You know, I tried
I did what everybody tell you to do when somebody gets killed. Oh, well, if he hadn't been wearing a hood. Oh, if he had just obeyed the commands. Oh, if he had done this. There's always a reason somebody's death is their own fault. And I was like, all right, cool. We're going to have a dude that does everything right.
Everything right.
And let's see what happens. And you know what? I did. And also what we're secretly talking about that we're not spoiling for people. It for me, that doing that, writing the scene that way, writing things that way, was supposed to dredge up questions about the nature of justice itself. What is justice? What do we actually consider just versus unjust? Is justice only served if it's like before a jury? Like what? How do we even define that word? Because if you ask me, what happened was a form of justice being served. And, but it also brings up the question of like the cyclical nature of things. So like if justice is served in this way, does justice then have to be served on the person who helped the other justice be served? Like it's wild out here in these streets, man.
And it's so many, thank you, everybody. Some really nice comments about you.
I see. Hey, y'all. Thank you, boo.
Overall, I just feel like the book really, I feel like it did what it was supposed to do. Because I walked away saying, whoa.
we really got to make sure our kids understand what's going on.
Sorry, now I'm playing with the filters. I'm listening, but continue. I'm gonna do the rest of the interview like this.
Right? That's super cool. The party scene. Oh, that devastated me.
Wait, which one? The Halloween party or the other one?
Yes, the Halloween party and how that was brought back up.
That was on purpose because that's what they be doing. Like, so people totally underestimate media bias and how like really that's how it goes. Like they will be like, oh, let me pull up this picture of you from this one time. But like my goal with that was to show that like these kids, when we show these pictures of them like flicking off the camera and stuff, they're just being kids. Like this, that doesn't make them horrible. It doesn't make them thugs. It doesn't make them, you know, like deserving of death. Just because somebody is photographed a certain way, like you don't know the story behind the photograph. And so much gets lost in the media. It's just like, it's crazy. It'd be crazy.
You're putting out the narrative that you want. And so you've already put together this whole, you know, layout. You have to put things in there that fit the story that you're trying to portray.
Right.
That was an unreal moment. That was an unreal moment. Like I said, you gave so many.
Okay, I'm gonna stop. Go ahead.
So many surprise elements. But I think that, again, I'm glad that you're super detailed because those surprise elements, I know you thought those out. Because for me, it was just thing after thing. Like, oh my goodness, that totally happens. And whoa, that totally happens. And then you get to see Justice have his moments of, I really don't think I should be doing this. I feel like this is going to come back to bite me later.
Mm-hmm. And then it does.
Listen to yourself, dude. Listen to yourself. You know, you got some
we got our gut checks, man. We don't be trusting our gut. White supremacy. Oh, I did say that out loud, didn't I?
You did. Oh, you're too much. Okay, let me see. I think there was like one more for sure that I wanted to get. What?
Thank you, Mrs. B.
Oh, that's so super sweet. What is your? You wrote it for your babies.
Mm-hmm.
What do you want them to get? I know they're super teeny tiny, but like you said, they're not going to be super teeny tiny forever. What is it that you want for them to then do with the book? You see what I'm saying? Everything that you taught them through Justice's story, what is it that you want them to do with it?
I mean, it's legit the same. I literally tell him, my older one especially, and my younger one now, he just turned 2 and he's starting. We're starting to kind of drill this into him that like your decisions have consequences. Mm-hmm. You are going to make them, and like who you are is up to you, and you're the person who's going to have to decide what you're going to do and who you're going to be. And like, it ain't my problem when you decide to do something. Know that it's on you. Like I'm not like I'm mommy, yes, but I'm not bailing you out of jail. I'm gonna let you sit there for a few days. You know, like I'm like the parent who is, I am here for you. I am going to show you your options and let you choose from them. And that's how we work with our, like me and my husband, we're very big on giving our kids options and letting them choose, because I think choice is really what it all comes down to, right? And that's what I want when they read the book. I want them to see Justice's choices and see where those choices led him, and see, you know, what he does with regard to decision making after living out the consequences of his choices. Like those are things that all.
Oh no! Hold on, she'll be back. Don't leave. Hopefully our phone didn't die. I know she was talking about her phone dying. Thank you guys all for tuning in. Like I said, for those of you that are here right now, everybody that tunes in, send me your IG handle, and I'm going to do a drawing in about a week, and somebody will get a copy of tonight's book, Dear Martin, by author Nic Stone. Well, hopefully I can get her back. We'll see if she
if she pops back on here. If not, again, make sure you guys get the book. It was one of the most timely things that I've read. Getting into a lot of things about the Black community, the things with me personally. No, I am not. I like to read, and I needed to grow in my reading, and so honestly, share the book. If it needs to get, I feel like this is a book that needs to be in every but read it. It's got to be in everybody's hands. I'm so glad that when I was doing my Google searches and things like that, I came across this particular book and decided to go ahead and read it. It's got a lot of surprises in the book, and I keep telling people all the time, it made me cry. It made me, I feel like it would be a really nice film. Again, one of those things that you sit down with your family and really talk about. I really like how she incorporated some, she said the gray moral areas. There's a lot of things in there where it's kind of like, well, should I be glad about this? Should I be sad about this? So please be supportive. Like I said, hopefully she can pop back on. Go to her page. I will make sure to create a post that's got all of her information on it. So you guys make sure to go follow her, support her, buy the book for someone, buy the book for yourself, and then share it. It's super. You will not be disappointed. I am very, very pleased. Nick, I don't know where you went, so we just kind of sitting here. I think I'm gonna go ahead and log off again. Make sure you get your copy of Dear Martin. We will be back the 4th. Yes, it is. We will be back the very last Tuesday of the month. Every month that we do this. And our next book is Tradition. It's called Tradition. Right now, Brendan Keeley. I'll make sure that is also on the StayLIT Instagram so that you guys can get your copies and be ready, because we'll be here again in a few weeks. So make sure that you're reading. Yes, I know. We got some really good books. We got some really good books and phenomenal authors. So if you guys know of any books that you'd like to hear us talk about, if you guys have any authors, if you've written a book that you would like for us to talk about, please be sure to send me a message, and we'll try and get you in here. Okay, thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful evening. Don't forget to send me those IG handles. Get your books, and I will see you guys later. Stay lit. Bye. Nick, I can't believe you're gone. I hope your phone didn't die. Bye, everybody. Just sorry. I guess I got a question here. Have you done allegedly? No, I haven't. I don't remember if the comments on here stay. So can you send me that? Because I won't remember. I won't remember. So send me the name of the book, and I'll try and reach out to the authors and things like that. Awesome. I love it. Thank you guys. Okay, awesome. If that is it, I think I'm gonna go ahead and hit this button. I will also post this recording